connecting and building.
Oh gosh. Well, I
That'd
mean,
be fun.
to be fair, I mean, I think it's something that we all struggle with. I mean, it's still something that I struggle with, even today. But, I kind of had to figure it out of necessity. So my story is, I worked for a large organization, and I fell in love, and so I moved to a different state for love. It ended up working out, which was good, right? But I started a new job and I was in a new city. I moved away from my family, my friends, everything. And I didn't realize until I moved to this new city just how interconnected I was at my other organization. So when I was doing the work that I did at my other organization and then moving to this new role, which is a large research institution, right? I mean, I went from, it was a large company too, to be fair, but then to go to like a city when I grew up in a very rural environment, it was really, really scary. And I mean, my first year, I really, really struggled. Like, and I thought, is this me? Like, what's wrong with me? This isn't me. What's going on? And so I really needed to find connections with other people. And luckily, I was able to find that through my local ATD chapter to start with. And I met some really tremendous people through that. And then also met some tremendous people through my work at my previous institution. So it kind of just went from there. But then, I found out just by talking to other people that, you know what, other people need that too. And you're not limited to kind of the geography or composition of your organization, but there is really some value in reaching out to people all over the world of what you do. So I kind of made it a passion of mine to get to know other people, see how they approach the work that they do, and really, strive to learn from them. And hopefully, they've also learned from me along the way too. But I think that that's what kind of makes it so special.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you made that effort and being in a whole new place and a whole new organization. You've done a lot for a lot of people over the years as a result of you taking those few steps on your own. So, Kara, with regards to community, do you think that the concept of community has changed quite a bit because of the pandemic, or do you see a shift or a difference between how people are finding their community?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I have to say, like, I'm kind of addicted to conferences. Like before kind of the pandemic, I would go to a lot of conferences, and actually Tracy and I, we traveled to different conferences together. So we went to the ATD International Conference. Was that 2019, I think, in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Then we went to Las Vegas together to go to DevLearn. So, I mean, there was a lot of traveling and there was just something really special about that. But then obviously last year the travel kind of halted. So it's really interesting though. My kind of core group of the people that I feel like are in my community and I fellowship with, it didn't change. I mean, I added more people to it, but it didn't change. And we connect through, we have various like group chats that we talk in and that kind of stuff. So it really didn't change. I mean, really the only difference was we didn't get the physical connection, but a lot of the people in my community were in, gosh, 4 different countries and spread out all throughout the states, and then different countries as well. So it's pretty special if we could even meet all together in person to begin with. So it was, it didn't really change, I think, for me. But I also think that a lot of people were seeking it out more last year because I don't think people really realized what they needed or maybe had until it was kind of gone because of the various restrictions and things. So I do think that people were actively seeking it out last year. And I hope that a lot of people were able to find what they were looking for, or maybe still on the path trying to find whatever it is.
Yeah, I would say even in the last month or two, I've had people reach out to me and just, hey, I saw that you're, in the same industry as me, or you do some stuff related to training. I just want to reach out and spend like 20 minutes talking and getting to know people. And so it was like no strings attached. They're not trying to sell me anything. They're not wanting anything. Cause I feel like sometimes you get skeptical. You're not sure, going into those, and have built some great relationships and met some awesome people as a result of that.
Yeah,
definitely.
and if I can just piggyback on that, I think that like where I'm at now, I'm in a position to help, I think, others more than maybe I was when I first got started. But I don't think I would be where I am now if other people wouldn't have been so kind with their time. And I could name off so many people that gave me just 10, 15 minutes of their time to help guide me along the way. I mean, kind of my North Star is Dr. Ray Jimenez, if you all know him. He has been so good to me in my career. And it's actually how I met Sonia James, is through Dr.
Okay.
Ray Jimenez. Yeah. So,
Yes.
he's been tremendous to me. And again, I could a laundry list. So because he took the time to invest in me and help guide me, I feel like it's my own professional obligation to do the same for other people. And I'm not going to ask them to give me money or anything like
Right.
that. Like if I have the time to give, I will. But to your point, Tracy, it does get really overwhelming. I mean, in the last year, I get like, I don't know, depending on the day, sometimes I get over 100 LinkedIn messages a day, and I just
That is
can't keep
wild.
up with it. And I felt guilty for the longest time I, I got to answer all of these. So I just put up this like basically away message that says, hey, I can't get to every message. I'm sorry. And then basically, if you're trying to sell me something, I'm not going to respond.
I love that. I saw that just recently because you and I were talking in preparation for this, and I got your automatic, and I was like, how did she do that? Like, I need that. I need that in my life because I feel like I'm getting more and more people that are, just wanting to sell, and it's hard trying to figure out, who's genuine, who really wants to talk to you and learn from you, you learn from them, all of that kind of stuff, versus just trying to sell me. So that was a
Right. And
really
not
neat
to say
tool.
I don't buy things. I do. I mean, I think we all kind of buy things or whatever, but the people that I reach out for services are people that got to know me. If you're one message pitching me and saying you really need this, how do you know what I need? Right. So it's an immediate turn off for me.
So, Kara, a question in building your like LinkedIn community, when you get connection requests, how do you determine whether or not to accept them? Do you just accept them all, or do you have some kind of system to figure that out?
Yeah, so I think that's an individual choice. I know that there's some people out there that say, oh, if you can't send me a personalized message, I'm not going to look at it. I'm really not that choosy. I'm also really not that worried if they're actually not currently in the learning and development space, because I feel like there's a lot of people that you can learn from in different kind of spaces. So as long as if they sent a message, it's not like vulgar or something that I feel like they're going to pitch me, I'll go ahead and accept the request. And then, if they do reach out and then try to pitch me, then they automatically get removed. So, that they kind of clean themselves out as it goes along. But no, I accept everybody because you just never know like why
Good
people are
point.
reaching out to you and want to connect with you. So, who am I to judge, right? So I mean, I could be wrong. So I just go
Right.
ahead and accept everybody.
At least you have that remove button.
Yes.
If you need it, you can do that. All right. So, Kara, if we talk about building quality relationships, just kind of shifting over and focusing on that, what do you think makes a relationship a quality relationship based versus just more like a face value?
Sure. I think the big one for me is, let me see if I can say this without twisting my tongue, reciprocity of relational equity. All right. So, what I mean by that is it is beneficial for me to be in the relationship, and it's equally beneficial to you to be in the relationship. So, there is something that I can learn from you. There's something that you can learn from me. I'm not a jerk. I'm going to be one of those people. And I'm actually talking next Friday. The training learning development community has a women in L&D like all day event. And I'm going to be talking about like hanging out with people that fan your flame. And I will tell you this, and I think Tracy remembers this. I actually sent her this video of Will Smith talking about you need to be around people that fan your flame, meaning people that encourage you, people that challenge you, people that lift you up. And if people don't give you that vibe, or they're just kind of these leeches on you, why are you wasting your time with them, right? So for me, it's very kind of, I'm very choosy about who I give my time to. I'm very choosy about that, just because I don't want to have these leeches on me. I want it to be something where I'm getting value out of the relation. And it can even be, having a small piece of someone's success, or knowing that cheering them on that day was really that extra oomph they needed to get through a really bad week or difficult decision that they were going through, right? It doesn't have to be something overwhelming, but there's something there that's positive and really, again, can kind of, make it better. So for me, that's what it's about. Is it beneficial for both parties to kind of continue to have this relationship?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And Kat and I were even talking about that even just recently, and talking about the give and take. And like you said, the reciprocity, and being able to, when you need to do that, being able to do that. So Kat has a question. She said, how do you break up with someone who proves themselves not to be reciprocating?
I would say pre-pandemic, it was very kind of slippery slope, Cat, and I think often I kind of would second, third, maybe even fourth guess myself. Am I being mean? Am I going to hurt someone's feelings? Whatever. Now, due to, kind of life, and due to like my new full-time job and all this stuff, I have no problem telling people no. It's something I really struggled with, and I've gotten more comfortable telling people no, or really safeguarding my time. So I just say, listen, right now, unfortunately, I don't have the time to, answer that particular question. And that's actually the reason why I started investing some time in my YouTube channel, because I found I was getting a lot of the same questions over and over and over again. So instead of hopping on a 15-30 minute Zoom with somebody, I'm like, hey, I realize you asked me this question. I made a video kind of, going over some of it. If you'd be kind enough to look at it, then if there's something I didn't answer, if you will send it back to me, then I'll maybe answer it. So, really just being more kind of choosy with it. But yeah, Kat, it's something I definitely struggle with. But now I have no problem telling people, no, I'm sorry. I don't have time for a coffee chat with you or whatever, because I get too many requests. Sadly, I wish there was more time in the day, but
Yeah.
I can't lose my day job for it. So
Right. Right. Or your sanity.
yeah, that too. That too. Yeah.
So let me see. Trying to think. I have a couple more questions. Do you think people should make every relationship a quality relationship, or do you think that there's a balance? There's some, yeah, I think of, what is it, that saying where people come into your life for a reason, and kind of like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's a good question. I was actually on a panel, I want to say a few weeks ago, and actually Christine, who was in the chat, was on this panel too. And Jolt Ola was on there, and he's a great guy. And he said something that really stuck with me about, the people that you should be connecting with. And he said, connect with people where you currently are, where you want to be in 6 months, and then who you really strive to be, right? So I really liked that, and thought that was some really solid advice that he gave to students in this talk. And I also think that's important for relationships as well, right? So, the people that can help you right now, maybe the people that can help you a little bit further down the road, and then who you want to be like. And then with the people you want to be like, sure, maybe some of those folks you want to have to your point, a quality relationship with. But I think you can also kind of follow people from afar and learn from their blunders and mistakes. I had a conversation the other day with somebody about, how are you a leader? Like, how did you learn to be a leader? And I was like, well, I'm still figuring out, but I also saw a lot of goofs and things that I made notes of along the way. Like, I never want to be a person like that. I never want to do that to somebody. So, I would say, would that be a toxic relationship? Maybe, but then is there quality in it because it's something that I learned? Maybe, right? So I don't know if that really
Good
answers
point.
your question or not, but that's kind of what I was thinking about.
Yeah, that's good. That makes me think too of, one of the things that we were talking about possibly hitting on is do's and don'ts. So I know the juiciest ones are the don'ts. So what would you say would be some don'ts to building your community or maintaining your community and finding those quality relationships? What are things not to do?
Sure. I think the first one is don't make it about yourself. That
Okay.
annoys me to death when it's someone on there beating their own chest, talking about how great they are. I mean, my most consistent posts that I do on LinkedIn are I do daily job postings during the week to try to help people find jobs. And I've gotten some really great praise for that, but I've also gotten a lot of hate from it too. People complaining that I don't do this enough, or I don't do international jobs, or I don't do it more frequently. And my response to all of them are, well, I don't own this and you can do your own, right? And to this day, I don't see anyone else doing it. So I don't, but anyway, so, don't make it about yourself. Right. Second one too is, if you build it, they won't come. So some of the most witty and coolest things that I were like really psyched about sharing, those are the ones that don't get enough eyeballs. I was like, why this one only got 2 likes or something? So, just know that even if you think it's the best thing since sliced bread, it might not hit with your community, and that's just fine, because somebody further down the road might say, hey, I remember you posted something like a couple weeks ago about something, can I have a link to that, etc. So I think that those are kind of the two big ones of the don'ts. But then kind of a don't but a do is, I do think that when people hear you, whether it's for a job interview or whatever, I do think people do look you up online. So to the point earlier about LinkedIn and Facebook, about it being really important, people are going to Google you. Why would you not want to control that narrative, right? So even if you don't think you have a digital footprint, you kind of do. So really take the time to craft, who you are as a professional, what are the things that you want to be known for, and you drive that conversation, right? You don't want Google to just randomly have some comment you put on Twitter as like the number one thing about you. Really do your work to build yourself as a professional. I think that's really important.
You got an amen from somebody in the HR
Oh.
field.
Okay, good.
Definitely. So what would you say are some of the top do's? What should you do when building your community?
Sure. So I think Shakespeare said it best, to thy own self be true. So know who you are. I don't think you have to be this person that wears a mask and be completely, totally professional. I mean, I feel very confident in the woman that I am, and I try to be my authentic self in every situation I can be. And there's times that people don't agree with me, and that's fine. And I have no problem saying, well, here's why I think the way that I do. And, that's, my decision. I do know that there are people that maybe don't agree with that, but that's who I am. And if someone's going to judge me for not, for being myself or whatever, then I probably don't want to work for them anyway. So that's all well and good. So I think there's that. And then two, one thing that people always talk to me about is like, well, what do I post about? Or how do I build this community? What value can I bring to the table? All right. I don't care who you are or where you're from in your career. There is something that, as my friend Jonathan Rock would say, we're all trying to, we all might have keys to other people's locks. And so we may be able to unlock something that someone else doesn't know. Something that's common knowledge to us may not be common knowledge to other people. So sharing your expertise, sharing something that you read, sharing something that you learned from, you have no idea what other person is looking for something like that and could really benefit from it. So I really think if you're sharing for, on your lifelong learning journey, the things that you're learning and going through, I think that can also help others.
And I think people would be, it would be interesting for people to realize how much other people don't know, that they have that knowledge, they have that key, like you said, and can help unlock. And just opening up and talking or putting a post out there about it. I was talking to somebody the other day and they were talking about a trick within OneNote, and I was like, wait, what? Like, tell me some more, because I'm trying to do that, and how do I do that? Or widgets on your phone, and how do you do that? Or things that we, I guess, take for granted and think are simple and common. Not everybody necessarily knows that.
Yeah, and to that point, you made a video a few weeks ago about project management and Microsoft Planner. So guess what my team currently does at work now because of you. So, right there's a great example.
Right. Great. That's good to hear. Yeah, there's and what's interesting too is you never know who's really watching you. So you have a community of people that maybe that's outer circle that are watching you that you don't even realize. So I even found out just recently of some lurkers and high level lurkers, people you do want watching you, you do want liking and commenting, but they don't for some reason. So you're always being watched, and I love that what you said about being your authentic self, because I think that that shows your true passion and people are attracted to that and being in those kinds of relationships with people.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, again, I hope that if people meet me in real life, I'm the same online as I am in real life. I try to be. I mean, it's too much work keeping up like a persona, in my opinion. So
Yeah. So we have a couple comments. Great advice. I found that when things come easy to someone, they usually don't realize how valuable it is to others. They assume everyone just knows it. Just true. Um, Kara, I admire what you accomplish. Question: how much time per day or week do you devote to community building? That's a great question.
it's a great question. So it's so funny because when people say you're really good at driving a community and building a community, I'm like, what, me? You know,
The master connector. That's what I
but
see.
I don't see it. It's like I'm just me, right? So,
Right.
as far as like, posting daily on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
it's something that I do like first in the morning when I get up or right before I go to bed. So I have a couple different repositories of places I like to look. So, a couple of these, and I can put them here in the chat too if people want
Okay.
to find them. But Nuzzle is one, Feedly is one, Refind is one. So these are kind of aggregators of I tell them what I'm interested in, and then they will kind of curate and find different things across the internet about these particular topics that I'm interested in. So I'll scroll through that and read. And then if I see something I like, I actually will save it. And then I save it to a tool that actually posts for me on social media. So I use a tool called Buffer, and it
Mhm.
automatically will post for me on LinkedIn. So, because a lot of people are like, do you even work? Like, well, I'm like, yeah, like I work, I promise. Like
Got that
you
too.
know,
Like, how are you
yeah,
posting
yeah.
every
How are you
hour?
posting all the time? Like, oh, it's automatic. But
Right.
and then for my job postings now, it's super almost automated. I get so many messages from recruiters all across the country. Hey, I wanted to post my job on your job listing. Can I do it? And so the only thing I ask is like, I just post remote only because I learned that
Mhm.
the hard way. If you post something not remote, then you get people sending you messages. Well, can I apply for this? Is this remote? And I'm like, I don't know. Like you
I
ask
remember
them,
you
right?
saying, don't send me your resume or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Don't send me your resume.
Yep.
And yeah, people send me their resumes too in message. But as far as hitting up my little job posting and making that post, I have a lot of it pre-written because I have the kind of the same elements of it. So that takes me about, I don't know, 20 minutes max. So all in all, Dawn, I would say daily during the week. It depends on how much I read, but I'd say maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. And then Saturday I try to stay off of it. And then Sunday I will pregame for kind of for Monday. So all in maybe 2.5 hours. But yeah, Kat, I'll go ahead and pop these here in the chat for you. So you got it.
Yeah, I use Buffer too. And I had gotten the question of how are you, especially with leading up to the launch, how are you on, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those so often? And I'm like, I'm not. I have this set up to automate. So my Sunday night ritual has become planning out, what do I want to post, where are those going to post, and then during the week it's a lot easier because it might be in the morning checking in. Maybe there's something else that I want to post. Maybe it's checking in at my lunch, grabbing my lunch before I come back to work, checking it, and then in the evening maybe once, and kind of go from there. So still
Um,
checking in, being able to respond to people's comments. Go ahead.
Yeah, another thing that I was going to say that I try to do that I think is really important with my community is at least 1 to 2 posts a week. I try to like lift someone up or acknowledge somebody that I admire or their work. So this past I think it was past week or week before, there's these two young men that I work with that, I just look at them and I'm like, wow, I'm so jealous. I wish I was your age again. Like, the world is your oyster. And I was like, you all need to get on LinkedIn. And they're like, well, we don't even know how to get started. I said, tell you what, I said, I will put out a post and I said, I'll introduce everyone to you and it will be wonderful. And like, they're already like checking, they're reading on stuff and,
Nice.
that's really cool. So I also think that that's really important too, is to really kind of acknowledge the work that people in your circle are doing too, because you just never know what that boost could mean for somebody. So, I have a friend who's a voiceover artist and he does a little podcast. I posted something with that and he said, I got so many new followers, and but he's doing good work. So I mean,
Yep.
it's not to me disingenuous or anything. I just wanted to elevate some of the work that they're doing. So
Right. And that doesn't take much. It's a couple
no.
minutes. Go in there. Okay. So it looks like another question we got was any basic advice on fixing or correcting a personal public image? Seems so overwhelming if you Google your name after some kind of scandal, and especially if, you were accused of something and you didn't do it, but trying to take that back, and how do you start to move forward? Any
Sure.
thoughts?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a scandal, but just bad circumstance, at least for me. So,
Mhm.
when I got married, I changed my last name. So, I took my husband's name when we got married. And there's actually another Kara North out there who actually is also from Kentucky, like I am, who writes trashy romance novels. So if you Google me, it says I wrote books like Tequila Made Her Clothes Fall Off and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, that's
You're like, not really
that's
the image I want to
so
portray.
so for me, I for a little bit, at least on my LinkedIn, I said, please note, I am not the Kara North that wrote the series of books or whatever. But now it's almost like a joke, right? Because yeah, Terry, you get me then. Yeah. So it's like a joke. So I just think that if there's something out there, just I think you need to address it head on. I watch a lot of YouTubers like attacking each other for some reason. I don't get it. So a lot of the YouTubers I watch are like, well, before I get started today, this channel said this about me, and both, so that at least they kind of own it. So I just think if you're, again, transparent, you talk about it and just share, what happened. I think people really admire that versus, for me, I think it's important to speak out about it. So if you
Okay.
can, legally, you might not be able to, but.
Okay. All right. It looks like we have another question. Do you have suggestions for LinkedIn versus your resume? I am through a major resume revision for more leadership roles. And if I overhaul my LinkedIn, how do I handle my current job, seeing and thinking I'm searching? I want to connect with the right people because I learned so much. Great
Ooh,
question.
that's a great question. So when I was job searching, I decided to leave my institution last year. I was finishing up school and I was like, no offense, I've been here 7 years. I'm ready for my next adventure. So for me, I actually turned on the recruiters open to reach out to me button on LinkedIn, and that kind of helped me with that. But as far as like the LinkedIn versus resume, I have like a visual resume on my LinkedIn, but I don't have like my full resume. I don't have my full CV on there because I think it's really overwhelming. But I'm a big believer, Christy, of the best jobs are the ones that you don't apply for, right? Because you can always beat the ATS robot if somebody's put your name in and you've already kind of made it through that first round. So I really believe, again, in connecting with people and seeing what's available that way. I think 9 times out of 10 you're going to not get that opportunity if you're just blindly send that resume in that black hole with hundreds of other applicants. So that's what I try to recommend for people. Like if you're looking for a job, try to look how you can connect with other recruiters, other people in that company that you want to work for, and really kind of start from there. So
Right. Or maybe even what are things in your current role that you could, like if you're talking about for a leadership role, what are some things you've done from those leadership skills in your current role that you could highlight in there? So maybe they're not seeing it as you're trying to, switch all together. And I know that in LinkedIn, when you say that you're open to recruiters, I believe that's hidden. So other people can't really see it, or you can make it hidden. So only the recruiters can actually access that, and other people would not.
And shameless plug also, this lady right here, actually, before I went full on job seeking, did actually help me redo my resume. So I can't say enough good things about Tracy
I
and her
forgot about
resume
that.
services. So if you're
Yeah.
looking, I highly recommend.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, so let's see. There's a question about resume building point of, what about from a resume building point of view? Like if something bad happened before, I'm guessing, and Kara, correct me if I'm wrong, that that would be true as well. You would be open and maybe not putting something in your resume if something happened before, but that's more of a discussion, I
Oh,
would think.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
just bringing up in discussion if it comes through. Oh, thank you, Sonia. I still think Tracy's much better than I am, though. I'll give her props. So,
Well, then I hear so much about Kat Hoyer and Mary doing interviewing and resume writing. So we have a lot of people within the community that are helpful for that. Okay. So Kat said, I would also add that you can clean your online footprint if you put more content out so it pops up before the old stuff, blog posts, podcast interviews, etc. That's a really good point. I don't know enough about how, isn't it SEO, like how the search algorithms work and what comes up when, but I would agree with that because I think timing is one of them. So if there's more relevant information and maybe if it's somebody has a resume that they had something happen in the past that didn't look so good on them, even though they're not, they weren't, that wasn't true. Maybe it's a matter of putting a simple website up and having your resume on it and maybe a talking resume or something short like that, but also having the LinkedIn. So the more
yes.
things you have, the more it's, bringing those up instead of hopping into the bad stuff. So.
The other thing too, if you have previous things that are poor quality. So for example, I remember I did my very first podcast interview, I think back in 2015 or 2016. It's still out there. It's horrible. I can barely listen to it. I was just all over the place. I was a nervous wreck. You can hear it in my voice. Whereas now I'm a little bit more seasoned. I'm still not perfect, right? We can all improve. But then I also use that as motivation after listening to it to join Toastmasters. And then through Toastmasters, I became more confident as a speaker as well. So I bring that up, if people ask, well, how did you, why are you doing this? How do you do this? I'm like, well, just so you know, it's been a long road, right? And I just think there's something really human and endearing about that. And it really shows, again, your own commitment to your own growth when
Mhm.
you own that. And then again, have it tell the journey about where you are. I mean, there's what's the meme of like what they show, what they say success looks like, and it's this straight line,
Oh,
and then what success really looks like, and it's this crazy line of everywhere, right?
yeah,
I think that there's really something human about you and your story, and I think that that's part of who you are, and you shouldn't shy away from it.
right, right. Thank you. That's great. So Carol, I think at least I have another question. We'll take another question or two in the chat. We have a little bit of time left. But when you get ready to go to an event, and this is speaking from me and my introverted self, um, being overwhelmed even before I step foot into an event, how do you go about, do you predetermine or challenge yourself, like, here's what I'm going to do? Or is it all end up being just whatever happens when you walk in the door, that's what happens? Or how do you kind of, do you prepare yourself
Oh
for that?
yeah, I totally prepare myself for it. So usually before the event, I will make a post like on Twitter, LinkedIn, saying, "Hey, I'm going to blah blah blah. Who else is going? And who wants to meet up or who wants to chat?" So then right there, I have a list of people that I'm like, "Okay, this is a successful event if I can talk to Tracy and I could talk to Kat and I could talk to, then I know that it's been a successful event." So I like to go there with kind of a game plan of who it is that I want to connect with. That's something that's really important to me. And then second, I used to, which again, live events, what are those anymore, right? I actually have something set up, and I can put this in the chat too, called If This Then That. And so I used to actually live tweet events. So I would be at conferences
Right.
and I would be tweeting about what was going on at the conferences all the time. And someone asked me, like, why are you doing that? I'm like, this is my notes. And they're like, what? And so with this app, If This Then That, it actually saves all your tweets to a spreadsheet. And so then what I would do is I would just take those tweets and just, the from the event, and then I'd pop them over into another document, and then I would share them with my team at work who maybe didn't go to the conference. And then that way they have access to the resources. They knew who was speaking, and it had the pictures if I took any pictures attached to it. And so that was a way that I could also kind of organize my thoughts, plus also share what was going on at the event as well. So that was another thing that I love to do. Now, There are people that I've been in their sessions. There's two people in particular that I cannot live tweet. One is Nick Floro, and the other is Dr. Will Dahlheimer. They both talk at the pace of a cheetah, and my thumbs had like smoke coming off of them trying to live tweet them. But most people I can live tweet, but those two are definitely challenging. So
All right. So, Kara, you had before sent those to all panelists. If you can send those to all panelists and attendees, the
my
muzzle
bad. Sorry.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I can. You brought up something that I had done. So when we went to ATD ICE, which was the international conference for ATD, and it was in Washington D.C., and I made myself get out of my comfort zone. And I remember Kristen had posted on Twitter and said, "Hey, I'm doing a get together. Any L&D folks want to meet up at this place?" And I had looked it up, and it was like a 20-minute Lyft ride to get out there, and I didn't know who else was going. And it was like, I am out of my mind. Like, what? I don't, other than talking on Twitter to, one or two of these people, but I put myself out there. I did it. I went out, and I had just left a day worth of sessions and get to the place. And I think it was close to Virginia. And it was like picnic tables outside, and we were just having drinks and stuff like that. And somebody had mentioned, they're like, "Oh, well, Megan's coming." And I'm like, okay, like I didn't think anything of it. And then Megan got there, and I'm like, it was Megan Torrance, and she had just led the session that I had gone to, and I was like super fangirling out, like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting at a table with 6 people and Megan is here. Like, so that was pretty awesome. And we ended up, she was staying at a hotel not too far from mine. So we shared a lift going back. And so I got to talk to her about project management and learning and design and kind of what I did. She had a question about an upcoming seminar she was going to do out in California. And she's like, "Well, what would you say to this? What feedback?" And I was just like mind blown. And it turned out to be the most awesome thing, that I took that chance and put myself out there. So
she's one of the nicest people too. Like I adore her. That's so awesome. You got to meet her that way.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's see if we have anything else. Oh, Anna Leach is on. Share my travel. Oh, okay. Totally how I met Kara. Oh, Kat said she was fangirling. She saw you at a gathering for me, and when she heard your name, she had talked to you on Twitter earlier the day. She's, "Are you the Kara North?"
I remember that. Yeah. I was like, "Are you the Kat Hoyer?" I mean, come on.
And Kat, I got a text earlier today if you were the Kat Hoyer. So you have people fangirling out on you too, girl. So, all right. So we just have a couple minutes left. Any final advice or tips as people go out and they're building or maintaining their community and the relationships with others, Kara?
Sure. I just think it's super critical to have it, because I'm telling you, you lose your job tomorrow, God forbid, or something. It is, I find, very hard to stay in that close contact with those coworkers, and you just never know who might open that next opportunity for you. And I know that it's something I wish I would have done earlier in my career, but I'm trying to make up for lost time very quickly. So I just think it's really important to give back if you can, and then just know that things that you find interesting, other people probably do as well. So why not share it, right? If it's good enough to bookmark, it's good enough to share with other people is my motto.
That's a good point. And what's your other motto?
I don't know. Oh, if it's free, it's for me. That's my other motto.
There you go.
Is that what you were waiting for?
Yep. Yep. All right. So we're getting lots of comments that this has been really, really helpful and valuable, Kara. So thank you again for joining me and publishing that, putting it on social media too, and inviting all kinds of other people to come in and be in the community with us. I'm really excited about the future and moving forward and the things that we're going to be able to do.
Well, again, I support you 125%. I just think you're a tremendous human, and I'm really excited to see what happens with upskill. And who knows, maybe I'll put a course on here too. Just saying, in my copious free time.
There you go, people.